Today, we'll be looking at how to engrave rubber sheets and make rubber stamps. I did a ton of research and worked on different kinds of rubber and on different machines. A 5 watt, a 10 watt and a 20 watt laser. This video is for anyone trying to figure out what works and what does not. Rubber stamps are a cool way to make some easy money. A sheet of rubber costs around $8 on Amazon and you can make around 20 stamps from a single sheet. So hello guys, welcome to Mellow Pine Lasers. Before we move on, there are some safety precautions you need to know. Laser engraving rubber produces harmful fumes. So make sure you set up your laser in a well-ventilated area. Use a fume extractor or air filter if you have one, and always wear your laser safety goggles. Now, here is the TLDR version. Take your rubber sheet, use a brush to remove any dust, draw the shape you want for your stamp and set it to fill. Import your design and set it to fill and place it inside your shape. Go to cut settings, click on advanced, set ramp length, turn on ramp outer edge. Now, here are the power and speed I used. Once the engraving is done, you can use your laser to cut it out or use a pair of scissors to avoid the smoke. Glue the engraved rubber to a wooden backing and you're good to go. Now, here is the longer version. The quality of the engraving is dependent on the characteristics of the rubber that you are using. It gets tricky if the rubber is either too soft or too hard. We primarily engrave rubber for rubber stamps. Rubbers that are too soft are easy to engrave, but the impression they leave won't be good enough. Pressing the stamp on paper brings both the engraved area and the extruded area to the same level, leaving ink from all of it. You need a sheet that's neither too soft nor too hard. Then there is the color. The color of the workpiece has a huge impact on its interaction with a blue diode laser. I have discussed this in my laser engraving glass video and we saw similar results when engraving acrylic of different colors. All this must be too much to take in, but worry not. Amazon has listed rubber stamp sheets for laser engraving. They are fairly inexpensive. Another thing that's inexpensive is our free 7-day course called Getting Started with Lasers. We aim at providing a comprehensive yet simple guide for anyone getting into laser cutting or engraving. We cover all the fundamentals which will equip you with the necessary skill set to get you started. I'll leave the link in the description below. Do sign up and you won't be disappointed. If you sign up, we'll also be sending you cool tips and tricks on lasers every week. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The rubber surface can accumulate dust when it's left out in the open. You can use a brush to just brush it off and make it clean. The next step is figuring out the right speed and power. I have a video on how you can make the test file on LightBurn. It should pop up somewhere over here. However, engraving plain squares won't give you a good idea of what you would get. What I do is I create a small square, set it to fill, and then I type in a letter inside the square which is also set to fill. This engraves all the areas other than the letter. Now I use this square to make the test pattern. Now here are the speed and power that I used on my different machines. You can use this as a starting point for running your test so that you don't have to waste a lot of material and time testing it. Pause the screen or take a screenshot. These exact numbers might not work for you because there are several factors like the type of rubber, the color, etc. that can affect the result you get. I ran this test on my different lasers and what I found is that lasers with a smaller spot size produces better result when engraving rubber. Usually, lasers with high powers are meant for cutting and they tend to have a larger spot size when compared to low power lasers meant for engraving. When it comes to design, the most important thing you need to consider is the orientation of the image. I have wasted so much rubber just because I forgot to mirror my image. We run the laser in threshold mode after mirroring the image. Now, before we move into the actual design part, go over to the edit menu, head over to settings and turn on filled rendering. This will shade all the design set to fill, rather than simply showing the outline. Keeping the filled rendering on will give you an idea of how your design will look. There are two ways in which you can make your stamps. One is to remove everything other than your design so that when you stamp it, only the design appears on the paper. The other is to directly engrave the design, and when you stamp it, the ink covers the area surrounding the design. For the first kind of design, You need to draw a square or circle depending on what shape you want and set it to fill. Now, bring in your design and set it to fill as well and place it within the square or circle. Now, this subtracts your design from the fill shape that you made, which means your design will not be engraved and only the area around will be burned. For the second kind of design, all you need to do is bring in the design, set it to fill and draw a cut line around it in the shape you want and you are done. The next thing you need to consider is the size of the different elements of your design. For example, if the width of any of the elements of your design is too small, it might not leave a legible impression on paper. Also, when you push it down on paper, these thin wall design elements can bend. This can also happen if you go for too deep of an engraving. I never go beyond 1 mm of depth for stamps. If you are a LightBurn user, there is this feature dedicated to stamp making. It's called Ramp Edge. You go to Layer Settings and click on the Advanced tab. This is where you'll find the ramp settings. Now the ramp length is the length of the slope. What it does is create these slopes or taper along the extruded sections of the design, which makes the extruded edge more stable. Also, toggle the ramp outer edge on. The ramp value is the distance between the edge and the starting point of the ramp. Once you set the ramp value, you can head over to Preview, enable the shade according to power toggle, and you will be able to see the ramp effect. I ran my laser at 580 mm per minute and 100% power on my 5-watt laser. After you are done engraving, all that's left is to clean the burnt particles of the workpiece using a brush. Now, you can cut it out using your laser, but I suggest using a pair of scissors for simple shapes. If you're using a design where the design extrudes out, you can always use scissors because even if you mess up the shape of your cut, the stamp won't be affected. Cutting rubber with a diode laser is difficult and produces a lot of smoke. So it's better to use scissors whenever you can. For the backing, you can cut some pine in any shape you want or use a regular saw to cut squares. You can also make wooden handles, but I decided to 3D print them. Glue everything together and there you have it guys, we are in the rubber stamp making business. That's pretty much about it, I guess. If you think I missed something, you could let me and others know in the comments below. If you think the video was good, click that like button. If you didn't, you could click the other one. Also subscribe to the channel to learn more about lasers. If you have any questions, you can reach me at mail@mellowpine.com and also visit mellowpine.com/cnc for some cool content. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.